Hey there folks, Quentin here, Mask Ramen on the internet with another comics book review. This time I have Spawn Wildcats Issues 3 and 4. I read these two together because I was not going to do separate videos for these because this whole series is, to me, a disappointment. Issue number 3 deals with the Wildcats and Spawn and the future Wildcats. They sort of infiltrate Absissimus's stronghold, which is the Chrysler building, which is just a building. It's not anything great. There's no turrets or anything like that. There's not even really that many opponents inside the building. They separate into 3 groups, one to go above, one to infiltrate from below, and one team that sort of just teleports magically into the center of the building. And the people sort of, there's this, you could see when they infiltrate, they sort of have these sort of trophies. You could see other characters from the past, and they're sort of how they were defeated, like Malbolgia here. This is supposed to be like his head mounted on the wall, that Spawn killed him. And it's not, there's not all that much to it. They sort of meet along the way future versions of themselves, where they are beaten and defeated and sort of have no fight left in them because they're not up for the fight anymore. They rescue Ampere, which he's like an immortal. He could never die, and he's sort of like just being tortured. Other than finding him, he serves no real purpose in the book. So it was like saving him for no reason whatsoever. And then they sort of fight more like, Vindicator type, demons. And they're actually defeated pretty easily. So it's like, I kind of just don't get this whole book. And, they're sort of led into Absissimus's throne room, where they find, Deity Spawn. It's a little easy because that's what's supposed to happen. They were never really going to defeat Absissimus. They sort of all team up, go into his throne room, and then, you find out in issue 4 that, oh, it's my plan all along, because how Spawn finds the talisman is that he actually gets it from his future self. So it's one of those Terminator kind of like the future set in motion, the things that happened in the past, and without the future there is no past, because Spawn actually fights Absissimus, and that's how he grabs his talisman. That's how he gets it from the future, and then he brings it back to the past. And that's how he becomes a god, and that's how he sort of takes over the world, which doesn't really make any sense in terms of the book, because Absissimus is like, this is a loophole kind of deal. This is supposed to happen. I wanted it to happen. I knew all the moves, and there's no real, at least not that I can discern from the book, how things change. So they're trying to change the loophole, and the zealot here from the future, she kind of gets smacked around by Spawn, because Spawn is sort of like, I'm going to use this power that I have found. And then he like hits her in the face, he smacks her, and then he recognized her as, oh, you are actually my daughter Cyan. So it's like, I can't use this talisman. And, he gives the talisman to her because, it's one of the, like, he cannot kill his own daughter because he loves her. And then, it's sort of like, this is, you are a version of my daughter that I could have had. That's sort of like his thinking. And then, the future starts disappearing. All the future people start disappearing because Spawn never actually takes the power, and that's it. the talisman disappears back into the sort of space-time with these guys here from issue number 1. If you've never seen them other than here and here, like the first part of the story and then the last part of the story. And then there's no real sort of resolution where the Wildcats and Spawn sort of like even talk about what just happened to them, and there's like no real stakes to it. So that's why I give it a 3 out of 10, because it's very disappointing. It feels like it went nowhere, and there was no real consequences to either teams, like either the Wildcats or Spawn, or even the future Wildcats. Alan Moore, growing up, I hear a lot of great things. That was not really during my time, but people always said that Alan Moore is a great writer, and there's a few things that I've seen of Alan Moore that I like, but not like actually read comic books from him, other than like the Image stuff that he did in the 90s, because he did write Wildcats and he wrote this, and I didn't like any of his Image stuff, so I sort of don't really get the deal with Alan Moore. I would just have to go back to the 80s stuff, I guess, which I probably like reading these. I kind of don't really have any real interest in seeing anything more from Alan Moore. But that's my review of Spawn Wildcats. Very disappointing, and until then, God bless.